guys, my name is Arvind Reddy and let's continue with the series on Python. Now we know how to work with class and object, right? And we have also seen how can you create a variable inside an object. Of course, right, every object should know something. But when it comes to variable, in OOPS we have two different types of variable. The first one is an instance variable and the second one is a class variable, or you can call them as static variables. What is the difference between them? Now think about this. Let me just remove this code, okay, whatever we have done till now. So let me just clean this up. Okay, so we'll start from a plain slate. So here, let's go with another very example. Let's take a class called as car, okay? We all love cars, right? So let's say we have a class car, and of course, every car will have different variables, right? Of course, you can mention the company name, you can mention the type of engine you're working with, and the mileage, what it gives you. So we have different variables, okay? So what I will do is, if I want to use those variables here, we need to use a function which is init. So you will say init function, and in this you can define those variables, right? I can say self.mileage and I will say mileage is, let's say, 10, and then I will say the company. So company would be, let's say, BMW. Any random company name, doesn't matter. So we have these two values, right? Now these two variables are called as instance variables. So when you talk about mileage and com, these are instance. Now why these are instances? Because as your car changes, as the object changes, this value also change. By default the value is 10 and BMW, but you can change it, right? Example, we have done that before. Just to give you a glimpse, I will say the first one is C1 and this is car. That's my first object. I got C2, which is again a car. That is, we got C1, C2. Now we got two different objects and both the object will have different variables, right? Different area for the variables. And now if I print the value, so I will say c.com and I also want to print c1.mileage. So I want to print both for both the variables. So you can see we got C1 com, C1 mileage, C2 com, C2 mileage. That's perfect. And now if I run this code, of course it will print same values because they are same. But can we change it? Yes, we can. So I will say if I change for C1, so let's say C1 dot mileage. So let's say C1 mileage changes from 10 to, let's say, 8. This is what happens, with some cars. And let's run this code. You can see the values changing now. So of course both the objects are different and they will have different values. But what if I want to create a variable which is common for all the objects? Of course, these variables which are instance variable, they are different for different objects, right? If you change one object, it will not affect other objects. What if you want to have a variable which will change, it will affect all other objects? Example, the number of wheels in a car is 4, right? By default is 4, right? But what if in future we got a new concept and they're saying, hey, now this time we will have 5 tires or 5 wheels. I don't know why we have 5 wheels, but let's imagine. In this case, what you will do is you will define a variable outside init, okay? Because if you create or if you define the variable inside init, it becomes an instance variable. If you define a variable outside init and inside a class, of course, it becomes a class variable. Let's say, we'll say wheels. So let's say wheels are by default 4, of course, will be 4, right? And if I print the wheels as well, now how do you print wheels? The way you can print is very simple. You can say c1.wheels and here as well I'll say c2.wheels, and let's run this code now and you can see we got the output. We got 4 and 4. So if you want to access wheels, you can use say c1.wheels and c2.wheels. See, instead of using the object name, we can also use class name, because see, if you talk about mil and com, it is specific to the object, right? But that's not the case with wheels. Wheels is common to all the objects, so every object can share the same value of it. So we can use object name or we can use class name, both works. So you're getting value 4, right? What if you want to change the value of it? If you want to change a value, you can come here and you can change the value. See what happens, in your memory you have different namespace. Now what is namespace? The place where you create an object or the variables, they're called as namespace. So we have two types of namespace. One is class namespace, where you will store all the class variables, and then we have an instance namespace where you will create all the instance variable. So these variables, which is mil and com, they are instance, right? So they will belong to instance namespace. This wheel belongs to class namespace, right? So if you want to work with wheels, if you want to modify it, you have to use a class name. You have to say car.wheels and you can assign the value to 5. Now the moment you change the value for wheels, it will affect all the objects, right? Because they are shared. So this wheel is shared between all the objects. And now if I run this code, you can see the output is 5 and 5. So that's your class variable. So the point to remember is we have two types of variables: instance variables and class variables, or in fact class variables also called as static variables. So that's from this video. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comment section if you have any more questions, and in the next video we'll talk about different types of methods. So stay tuned. That's it everyone. Bye bye.